Okay, so we're back over here with the rock board. I wanted to make a shorter video that goes over the MIDI functions and how I got the Neunaber Illumine to talk to, well, the controller to talk to the Illumine reverb pedal. Okay, so I got a longer video. You could check it out. It's like an hour long. I wanted to make a shorter one that's condensed to just get down to the MIDI functions, and then if I can keep it short, I'm watching a clock here, if I can keep it short, I'll go over just a preset. So this is a condensed video, okay? So I'm not going to go over how all this is routed. If you want to check that out, check out the other video. This is basically the MIDI. To get started with MIDI, if you got a MIDI device and you want to make a preset on the controller, with whatever pedals you're using, if you want to make a preset and be able to control the MIDI, turn it off and on, and then I'll show you how I have this set up with a bypass to where this Illumine is bypassed. So if you have another MIDI device, this preset, what I'm going to show you, will bypass it, as I'll demonstrate right now. So now we're in a global mode and it's bypassed, but when I call up this preset, it turns the Illumine back on, okay? And then you can see it's on the stock preset Illuminate Me. If I come over here, this is the wet plugin, so you can see that the preset for this is different. I have this set up. If we were to come over to this third one, it's the King Gong, okay? When I go back to global, it's off because that's my bypass, so it bypasses this. So not on, and this is basically like how I have this set up as a dry, no effects, nothing. It's just a dry my guitar running through the buffers. So I'm going to go over how to set this up on a preset if you want to bypass it this way, to try and keep this video really short. Okay, so once again, you can see this is, calls it up, turns it on if I bypass it, and then it calls it back up, and of course it bypasses. In the global, it bypasses, and then you can see it calls it back up and turns it on. Okay, so start over here on bank 1, which is this number over here. I know it's kind of hard to see, but you got a bank 1, preset 1, because that's what we're on. And then this number over here is your bank number on the far left, and then the number right next, right to the actual right of it is the page number, okay? Everything in the middle is like your loops and what loops you have on. So in this particular loop, you can see I got 3. That's the loop 3, and that would be this graphic EQ. That's what I have plugged into loop 3. So you got the basically in, going to the in, out, going to the out on here, okay? So that's what displays up here. This L you see, that's just a left out, because I'm using the left out going to the guitar. I don't have any stereo set up, and I believe they're left and right. You could keep it left and right, and I think it ties them together. I just set it left and set it up that way, and I don't hear any difference. If you're just running one speaker, one amp, the left should suffice and work perfectly. Okay, so here we go. So now that we're on bank 1, preset 1, and you got the page number. If you want to scroll through the pages, this is the page up here, and you can see this changes to the different pages. Okay, what we're going to worry about right now is that we're on page 1. Okay, so page 1, you'll be able to get to this menu that I'm about to demonstrate. And also, when you're on page 1, this is the foot switches. So this is how you get to your presets. So you got 4 presets, this P1 through P4. And then if you were to scroll your other bank, you continue on your presets. Okay, these switches, you can change the switches how you want in this controller, but the way they come, this is a page up and like a mute. This is your bank up and down, down, up, and then this is a tap tempo function if you have it programmed that way. I have it programmed to come on and turn the reverb on as its own function, okay? And that's specific to the switch. It's not a global thing, it's for the switch. So I bypass in global mode. If I don't want to come over here and I just want to call up a reverb, I can use this tap foot switch over here and it'll come back on, okay? So I'm not going to go and explain that. If you want to check out the video, I kind of go in depth on that. So that's what we want to concentrate on, page 1, and that's going to control these switches, okay? And that's going to allow us to get to our main menu, okay? If you go to page 2 and any of the other pages, they're for setting up the loops. You can see these lights come on, and then you have to save it. So from 3 to 4 on the pages, you would use these foot switches to set up your loops via activate them, turn them on, turn them off, select which ones you want. That's what you're going to do on page 2 to 4. Okay, it also includes the input buffer, the movable buffer, so on and so forth. Okay, function volume, everything that's in the pages of the manual. We're keeping this short, so we want to talk about the MIDI. So let's talk about the MIDI. Okay, so we're going to go to we're going to click on the page and the bank up at the same time while we're on preset 1. So make sure, or while we're on page 1. So make sure you're on page 1. You'll come to this menu. It'll show presets, song sets. You can scroll down. You got all this other menu stuff here. We just want to worry about presets for now and global. Okay. So first things first, we'll go to global. We'll hit enter. We'll come to MIDI. And then just make sure your PC offset correlates to what device you're using. In this particular instance is 0 because this starts at 0. That's the way I understand that. I could be wrong, but if you change that to 1, it messed up the order. And then the Illuminate Me becomes a 1 on here, but it's still 0 on here. Okay, so make sure your offset's to 0. So if we scroll down, I don't know what any of this is. This is for tap tempo, so we're not going to go over that. I'm not using any MIDI clock to control tap tempo, stuff like that. We just want to make sure that it's MIDI out, okay, and that we're on channel 1 in this. And if you want to scroll through, be able to go through, use these 2 arrows right here. If you want to change the values of them, you would use these arrows. So we're going to keep this as out because we're using the out and going to the in. Okay, if you daisy chain these, you would set that probably to through, and then you would set it up accordingly to run through different pedals. I'm not using it that way. I'm just using the out to the in of the Illuminate Me. Okay, so out to in. I'm not going to worry about any settings in this because we're not using the through. Okay, if you just want to control the Illumine with this, you're only going to use the input. Okay, the through, that makes this act as a controller from different pedals, so on and so forth, and then you have to come in here and set it up accordingly. So nothing you really got to set up in here. Just make sure you're on channel 1 and the global settings. If we come over here to global setup, just make sure you're on MIDI channel 1, okay? And this is on MIDI channel 1. That's all you got to worry about, okay? So once we get all this set up, make sure out and then PC offset is to 0. We can exit out of here. If you had to change it, you would just hit that button and it would save it. It's already saved in this, so we're not going to show you that. Come exit out. Hit these again, make sure you're on 1. I just kind of messed that up. We want to stay in this menu, so ignore what I just did. Stay in this menu. We were on global. We're just going to scroll back up to presets, and that's where we want to be. Okay, so we're going to go to presets, and like I said, this is just for presets. So we're worried about presets, not song sets, anything like that. I haven't really looked through the manual and kind of explored that for song sets. So right now it's just presets. So if you want to use this as like a preset foot switch changer, audio controller with the MIDI, and set this up, that's what this is for. Okay, so when we're presets, MIDI volume, enter, we're going to see this preset. That's our preset. We can toggle through the presets on this, but if you select it on whatever preset you're on, as long as you're on page 1 and you get to the menu, it'll pull up the preset you're on. So we were on preset 1 and that's what it pulled up, but you can scroll through them and change them over here in the bank up and down. If you were like on, say, you know, preset 10 or whatever, or a larger number preset away, it would probably be better to stay on that, go to page 1, pull up the menu, and then you're already there instead of having to scroll through here. Okay, but we're only on 1. That's what we're demonstrating. This is going to work for our this application purposes. Okay, so you got your MIDI. These are your MIDI messages up here on the right. So if I scroll over to let this blink, you see MIDI 01. These are your MIDI messages, and this thing can send up to 12 MIDI messages. If you see all these other ones, I don't have any there, but it is 12. Then you got beats per minute. You can assign this, all kinds of stuff, but we're not going to go into that. We just want to worry about our MIDI message, all right? We just want to be able to control this, call up one of our presets that we maybe have stored on here as a preset on this, and then we want it to turn on when we call that preset up. Okay, so that's going to take 2 MIDI messages. So if you see what I got here, you got 1, and then 2 as our second MIDI message. So 2 MIDI messages. Our first MIDI message is a control change, it's a CC, okay? We're still on channel 1 of the MIDI, but I know it's hard to see if I come over here to this blinking. number. This is going to be 080 for a control change. Okay, so a CC, that is to engage and disengage the pedal. Okay, and I pulled that off of Neunaber's the website for the manual, and it explains that in the MIDI section, that that's the number to engage and disengage. And then it gives values next to it, and these values are, it's going to be from 64 to 127, it said, I guess, to engage, and then 0 to 63 to disengage. So keep those numbers in mind. That's what, and like, you can go to the website and pull them off if you forget them. You want to come back to this video and reference. Whatever you got to do, it's on the Neunaber's website under their manuals for the Illumine. So you can get all that information there. But we set this to, this is set right now as our first MIDI message to turn the pedal on. Okay, so we are going to assign the preset for what it is here in just a second. This is the first step. And you can do this whichever way you want. I just have it set up this way. So this, our first MIDI message is to turn this on. So when we hit a preset, we want that pedal to turn on, because what I'll show you after we're done with this is I have the global set to disengage. Okay, so if we were in a global setting disengage, this is what we're going to set to call it back up. Okay, so turn it back on. So 126, you can change this number from what I'm guessing, any number from 126 all the way down to 64 is still going to engage. Okay, 63 to 0, 0 to 63, and this number right here with the value, it's going to disengage. And I'll show you that in just a second when we go to the global. Okay, so we'll come back out of here. We'll set that up. So we already set that. Now we're going to come up here to our second MIDI message, and you'll see now this is a PC, so it's a program change. So we're going to change the program. We're going to change the preset in here to scroll through. Once you go to the preset on this pedal, in this setting that we're in, still on channel 1 and still on preset 1. Okay, we're going to come over here, and now these numbers are 0. Okay, that coincides. This number now with the program change is going to change the preset value in the Illumine. So if I scroll up, you can see this change. I'm going to bank up, using the bank up foot switch, and then also this tap, which is, you can't see it over here, but it's an arrow up and an arrow down. That's what we're going to use to toggle through these. Okay, so you pretty much pick whichever one you want. Whether it's studio room, I'm going to show you, I'm going to change this, and I'll change it later, but I'm going to change this so I can show you what it does when it saves. So we say we want, let's see, small dark room as a preset on this. Okay, so we changed our control change MIDI message to turn it on. Now we're changing our PC message to set the preset. Okay, and that's what this is. So once we get that there, you also got another thing over here. I don't know what these are, and I'm not going to go into that because like I said, I don't know what they are. I'm still new to MIDI. They could be some values for something else. You could turn them off. This is still going to work, okay, because I have them off on other presets and it'll still call it back up. For those of you that view this, maybe you can tell me what those are, but for our purposes right now, just leave them at 0, 0. Everything should work just fine. You could probably also turn them off. They would work just fine for this specific function, which is just going to that preset and that specific preset. Okay, so once we have that set up, and I'll show you, there's no other menu beyond that. So you got LB and MB with value next to them. And if you look, you can turn them off. See, if we go down to the arrow up here, we can turn them off, or you can change the numbers. Okay, so once we have that set and we changed it, so we changed it to small dark room, all we're gonna do is hit this page button up here and it's gonna save it. So now we're done. So we come out here, exit, 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 exit to where we get back, oops, too much, back to our bank 1, preset 1, and then like I said, you got your bank number and then your page number. So on page 1, we're gonna be able to control our foot switches. You got 3. Okay, that's this pedal that's on. We set that up in the loop. You want to learn about that, go watch the longer video that I got. It's a lot of rambling, but you'll get an understanding of how that works. So that's what we have as far as the loops on. Okay, but now we also program the MIDI message to turn this on and off. Okay, or to turn it on and to go to the small dark room. So if we come over here, this one is set to go to wet plugin. I already have a program to go to the wet plugin, and it turned on. Okay. In global, it bypasses this, and I'll show you that message in just a second. It's bypassed, but it still comes on the wet plugin, okay? Comes on and goes to that preset. So if we come over here, we're off, okay? We're on our global. Doesn't matter where we're at global. Global is the second, the way this comes factory is the second press on the foot switch. You can change these foot switches to do different things. this is the way it comes, and this is the way I'm using it, because for me it makes the most sense for what I do. Okay, you can use all the presets, assign whatever preset you want. You still got a global to come back to, so you can set your global up however you want it. In my cases, it's just bypassing everything. Okay, so nothing on, bypassing everything. Okay, so we see that's off. Come back over here to the preset that we just assigned, small dark room, and it turned the pedal back on. Okay, just by those 2 MIDI messages. So now that we have that, we'll come back over here on bank 1, preset 1, 1, 1. We'll go to our menu again. Okay, we're gonna go down to presets again, hit enter. Okay, come back to MIDI volume, hit enter again, but this time we want to control the global. Okay, so we're gonna, because global's right there, right below preset 1. Okay, we just scroll down to global. That GLB stands for global. All this is the same. So when we engage the global setting, we want this to turn off, okay, our MIDI device. So as you can see, just on the last preset that I made to call it up and to turn it on, we have the CC, the 01, because we're on channel 1, and I know this is hard to see, but it's 080. Okay, so we kept this the same, but now if we come over here, our value is 1, because like I said, 0 to 63, according to Neunaber's website with their manual. You look in the manual for the Illumine, it says 0 to 63 will disengage, and 64 to 127 will turn the pedal back on. So turn on and turn off, 2 different values. Okay, so we have one set. We could make this, and I'll show you, we can make this a 0, or we can make it a 3, and it's still gonna work. Okay, so we'll set it as a 3 just to show you and demonstrate. We'll hit save. Okay, a process, and we don't have to be, we can be wherever, and it'll still save. So we'll exit out of here. We'll use this one to exit back out. And now we set that global that we're in to disengage the pedal with that control change message. Okay, that control change number. So go back to global. You see we're on global preset, global 1. Okay, bank 1. It turned the pedal off. Okay, now we go back to the preset, turns it on. Okay, so that's how you set up for MIDI if you want to use this to call this up, and if you're using this as basically a global bypass. Okay, so when I got this, global meant bypass to me. That's what I thought in my mind. If you have any other pedals, you can set that global up just like you would any other preset. The only difference is that every one of these foot switches while you're on page 1 is going to bring up on the second press the global. Okay, if you want to change that, you can watch my other video where I go in and kind of show you how to change the presets, or I'm sorry, change different functions on each individual switch. Okay, to me it doesn't make a lot of sense to do that. For, I'm sure for others there's a purpose, and that's why it's there. For the way I'm using this is basically like an extension of a foot switch to control these parameters. Okay, I'm not doing anything really in depth. It's really just being able to turn a couple of these on and then go through and have maybe 4 different banks with different settings in that. Okay, and you can also set up song set modes, which would probably change how you use this as well. Okay, but I just wanted to touch on the MIDI because there's not very many videos on the MusicomLab controller and hooking up MIDI, and especially any MIDI videos that I haven't seen any videos that demonstrate the MIDI on the Illumine. Okay, so great pedal, and it works with this, and it talks to it just fine. So that's how you do it. As far as I know, if you got a different way, go ahead and leave them in the comments. If I did something that maybe is not the traditional way, hey, leave it in the comments, let me know. I'm always learning about this. I'm new to MIDI, but I thought, you know, everybody could use some of this information. Other video is an hour long, so I'm trying to keep this short. One other thing in the video, this is the cable I'm using. It's just an Amazon special right here, going to the out to the in, and it works just fine. Okay, so that pedal will come with like little adapters. They're fat, they're on the back side, you can't see it, but it's like the 1/8 to a female MIDI cable. So it's like 1/8 to MIDI female, and I needed a short cable just to get it over here, like almost reached but not quite. So just a little 1 foot, and it doesn't look like 1 foot. It actually looks a little shorter, but it worked just fine. Okay, no noise. I was using longer ones. They introduced no noise as well, but they're just long, and it was easier to run cable management with just one of these. And these work great. I didn't hear any noise or anything like that. Works perfect for this application, and like I said, no strange noise or anything like that. If it breaks, they're cheap. You can pick them up, or you can just run a longer cord. I can just use these since I still have them. But that's it. That's all I got. Hopefully this is a shorter video, not as long as the hour-long one, that you can just kind of get an understanding on the MIDI, okay, and getting this to talk via MIDI. Thumbs up, thumbs down, whatever. Leave comments. Hopefully this helped. Until next time, until I get other videos out, be safe and take care.